Do you solemnly swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give here in this call is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please have a seat.
Go ahead and state your full name for the record and introduce yourself to the jury, if you would.
My name is Michael Allen Mays.
Where are you employed?
I work for the Knox County Emergency Communications District 911.
What do you do for 911?
I'm the custodian of records.
And as custodian of records, what types of records are kept by the 911?
We keep both a audio set of records, and we also have paper that we can, through our computer system, everything that comes into the 911 center is recorded. We can get that out of the server at any time. We also have a CAD system. CAD stands for Computer Aided Dispatch. It's our computer system that we use when you call into 911. An operator will put that information into the CAD system, and then that call is transferred over to dispatch, where dispatch then sends it out to the officer in the field. Anytime that we need to pull information from them, we can.
So the information that's dispatched to the officer in the field, that's part of the CAD, what's typed into the system?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, and you have a business duty to keep both the voice records and calls that are made to 911 and the CAD system?
Yes, sir.
May I approach you? What I'm handing you has been marked for identification as exhibit number 8. Do you recognize that exhibit?
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
It's a CAD report from November 21st, 2016 at 6:29 in the morning at the address at 6802 Cardinal.
And does that detail the reports, or rather the things that the operators would have typed in reference to that call?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm now showing you what's been marked for identification, exhibit number 9. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is that?
It's the CD I prepared in my office.
That's your handwriting?
Yes, sir, it is.
And that's the CD with the voice audio from the 911 call for the particular date that's detailed in the CAD report in exhibit number 8.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Before we publish that, Judge, I would like to reference exhibit number 10. I'm now putting in front of you exhibit number 10. Can you tell the jury what that exhibit is?
It's another CAD report from an incident on October 30th, 2016 at midnight or 12:08 in the morning of a call at 7814 Scenic View Drive.
Okay, does that reference Resmondo or any particular caller?
It does have a caller's name on it.
Okay, but not Resmondo?
No.
Okay. And what is the nature of the call that police are alerted to?
A suspicious vehicle in a driveway.
Okay. And we would move this in as October 30th incident, exhibit 10, moving 8 and 9 as the audio and CAD on the November 21 incident, and ask to publish the November 21 audio. Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Very well, we proceed.
Is that not? I don't have the.
All right. Everybody's going to try to plug for me to switch.
Oh, I'm not plugged up yet.
I've just got the audio plugged in, Judge, so I need
Let's
to.
see if it works.
Do I need to plug the video into it?
Everything should be okay.
Good. While we're waiting on that, if we could publish the CAD, Judge, by handing that around to the jury, let them take a look at that. That's exhibit 8.
Call 1 on Monday, November 21st, 2016 at 6:15 a.m. with a GMT offset of negative 300.
Is that projected?
Agent
I
ID
can't hear that.
extension 200.
You want to do that?
Where's your
Usually
emergency?
the opposite.
What is your name? And your phone number is 200-252. What's going on there? I've been trying to wait for my daughter for school. And she has no pulse. Oh, Cardinal Drive, and your telephone number is 005252. Okay, can you tell me what's going on? She's not responsive. She's going. Okay, is she breathing? No. Her tongue's hanging out of her mouth. Okay, do you want to do CPR? I'll tell you how to do CPR, ma'am. Okay. Okay, is she laying on her back? Yes. And you...
That's where it cuts off, Judge. I apologize for that. Not projecting very well, but the jury will have this exhibit.
Yeah. They can play again for us.
Pass witness.
Can I just look at one of those exhibits real quick?
Mr. Walker, you have a kind of soft voice, but you can move a little closer to your mic.
Do you own a home, Mr. Walker?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the jury's already heard it's at 6802 Cardindale?
Correct.
And where you live with your wife and your son Evan now?
Yes.
And back in 2016 with your daughter Emma?
Yes.
At some point, when Emma went to high school, she became involved in a relationship with a young man at the high school.
That's correct.
And what was his name?
Riley Gaul.
Point him out for the jury, if you would. Record reflects he's pointing to the defendant.
The record will so reflect.
What did you know about Riley Gaul in terms of his activities at school when Emma started dating with him?
He was a football player. That.
Okay. But at some point, they began a relationship. And what year was Emma when that happened? Grade-wise.
He was a freshman.
And what year was Mr. Gaul?
I believe he was a junior.
Okay. And tell us about, in the progression of that relationship, whether your approval changed at any point during during the relationship.
My approval did change.
And when would you mark in your mind when your approval of your daughter's dating Riley Gaul, when did that change?
Probably in 2015.
Okay. Did she continue, though, to date Riley Gaul after your approval started to decline, so to speak?
She did.
And did it come a point where eventually there was a point where you forbid that contact?
Yes.
Okay. And we've heard a lot of things about the relationship from the jury's already heard from your wife, of course. The types of things that caused you to get to the point where you said no more. What were those types of things?
They were sneaking around. Just from what I've read, how she was being treated.
Okay. And did that cause conflict between you as parents and Emma as your daughter? How did Emma respond to that?
She didn't like it at all.
Okay. And would she resist?
She would.
What about communication with the defendant? Were you aware that she was communicating with the defendant?
For a short period of time.
Okay. And was there any issue with devices that she was using to communicate with the defendant and that came up during this time frame?
Yes.
Tell the members of the jury about that.
There were device's name,
Is that an Apple iPod?
I believe it is.
Okay. Connects to the internet, and you can make phone calls with it if you can connect to the internet?
I'm not sure about the phone calls.
Okay. Who supplied her with the devices that allowed her to communicate with the defendant?
Well,
Okay. And you found that out, that he was giving her stuff to communicate? Okay. But eventually...
We'll object to the foundation of that. It seems to be based on potentially hearsay, so we'll object to the foundation, just lay a foundation.
Describe the circumstances under which this device that you said came from Riley Gaul was discovered.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
You said communication devices. We were talking about how she was communicating with the defendant, and you said that that Riley Gaul had provided her communication devices. And you think it was an iPod? Okay. How was it that was discovered, that she was communicating him with an iPod?
I discovered it. I went into her room and she tried to hide it from me. And I heard her hit the wall behind her bed. And I asked her what that noise was. She said nothing. So I started to look in behind her bed to find out what that was. That I had something crawl right behind the bed. And I found the device.
Okay. And did you know what it was? Okay. And did you examine that for what was being communicated? And who was you communicating with on that device? Okay. What kinds of things were being said, if you recall? All right. But let's get up to the date, or rather the weekend that Emma died. You recall that weekend, right? What was Emma's status as far as you as a parent coming into that weekend before Thanksgiving? What was your status with her and her ability to have social interaction with her friends? Let me back you up a little bit, then let's do it this way. Was there an event that occurred that caused you to have, we talked about this before, that caused you to forbid Riley Gaul or to have Riley Gaul not come to your house anymore? And tell the members of the jury, what date did that occur, if you recall the date?
It was end of October 16th.
Okay. And had Riley been over to your house frequently or frequently at that point?
Frequently before.
Yes.
Frequently before.
Okay. But he, at this point, he's no longer at Central High School, right? He's at where? And is he playing football? Okay. But on a date in October, something happens that you are made aware of or that you intervene on, and that event causes you to do what?
Asked him to leave and not have any more contact with
Okay. And prior to that, had you made boundaries? Had you set boundaries inside your home of where Riley Gaul could go?
Absolutely.
Why'd you do that?
I believe the bounds would be stretched in previous actions.
Okay. Stretched in terms of what?
Doing things that I didn't want to do.
Okay. And did you talk with him about that? And what was his reaction to that?
To be responsive.
But yet, okay. And so, at some point though, after that incident, where you told Riley he can't come back anymore, Was that on videotape? Did at some point you, based on the boundaries that you set in your home, at some point did you install a videotape in your home?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So, what you asked me before was that instance on videotape, the reason that I didn't want to marry. That is correct.
Okay. So the reason that you told him you wanted to stay away was on this videotape that you had secretly installed in your home? Okay. Okay, I'm going to send you a couple days later. Did you receive a call at sometime in October of 2016 from the Knox County Sheriff's Office with regard to your daughter? I'm talking about after the incident where you told him you can't come around. Did you receive a call from the police a few days later?
Yes, I did receive a call from the police.
Okay. And then would that be on October the...
So is that, I keep making the same objection, but on direct examination, it's supposed to be open-ended questions. He continues to leave this
I want a
witness.
foundation for the report. It's all the evidence.
As long as she's understanding the question, it's going to answer the question.
An event that occurred October 30th, 2016, 7814 Scenic View Drive here in Knoxville, Knox County. Were you involved in the police being called to that residence and date and time?
Yes, I was involved.
Okay, and the sheriff's department, did they contact you?
They notified me.
And in response to the sheriff's department calling you, what did you have to do?
My wife and I went to that residence to pick her up. She was mine.
Okay. And who was she with?
She was around.
How did you respond to that as parents?
As calmly as I could.
Okay. And what was Emma's status from that point until some other point where you...
Upset in the fact that we didn't want her to see him any longer. So I tried to give them a little leeway and let them see each other under supervised conditions.
But that all ended in October.
Yes.
Okay. Let me turn your attention, if I could, to the weekend that Emma died. Do you recall the dates of the weekend that she died? And did you and Evan have something planned or that you were doing that weekend? Okay. Hunting for what? Okay. So you were not home on Saturday? You were out hunting? How about Sunday?
Sunday I was home.
Okay. And do you recall what Emma's schedule was that day, that Sunday?
She had to work that day. Afternoon.
And what time did she get off work, if you recall?
It was 5:30.
Okay. When did you first see Emma when she was out, when she was done work?
I went to see her at work
Why did you do that?
because I did not want anyone to show up that wasn't supposed to be there.
Okay. And did you ride home with her?
I did not. She drove. I just followed her.
Okay. And describe the evening with Emma there at your home. With the rest of the evening, was the family together? Okay.
Doing homework. Later that evening, she came to the pantry to find something to snack on. She said she was hungry. And she said, I'm craving ice cream. So I said, let's go get some. She said, okay. I said, where do you want to go? She said, we want to go to Sonic. So we went to Sonic. That was Sonic Blast. Anyway.
And approximately what time was that?
Maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Okay. And what time do you normally go to bed?
Usually about 8:30.
Okay. 8:30 at night? And what time do you normally get up?
4,
What is your shift at Y12?
6 to 4:30.
Okay, but Y12 is a nuclear facility. You have to get there before 5:55 to get to a 6 o'clock shift. What time do you normally leave your house to get to work on time?
I usually leave at anywhere between 4:45 to 5 o'clock.
Okay. And was this day and this particular day unusual? Was there anything different about this day? Just another work day for you.
It was another day.
And in terms of the night, when you come back from the Sonic to get the ice cream, you're pretty much ready for bed.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you go to bed on your normal schedule that night?
As close as I could.
Do you have a different sleeping schedule than Jill? Does she come in obviously later, or how does that work?
Yeah, she usually stays up later and works on school stuff.
Okay. And let me turn your attention to the night hours of the 20th, moving into the 21st, going into Monday, early morning hours of Monday morning. Tell the members of the jury, what kind of sleeper are you? Or what kind of sleeper were you, and what kind of sleeper are you now?
I was a heavy sleeper.
How do you sleep now?
Not very well. I wake up anywhere from 1 to 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30.
Okay. Generally, that's what you do now? So back then, you would normally sleep through the night? Did you in fact sleep through the night on the night that Emma died? What is it that caused you to not sleep through the night?
I heard too loud noises.
Describe them if you could. You saying you heard two different loud noises? Describe them in the best way you can to articulate the types of noises you heard.
The noises sounded to me like someone had opened and slammed the door, like in Evan's bedroom. On his door, he has a basketball goal that hangs there.
Okay. The one kind of that hangs on the top.
On the top of the door. And of course, it makes it a tighter fit when you shut it. And when you slam it, it makes a lot of noise.
Okay.
And
Is
that's what it sounded.
how do you know that? Has Evan slammed that door before? All right. And you said, that, is this the first sound we're describing? You sounded like Evan's door slamming?
Yeah, it sounded like his door. That's what I first thought of in mind.
Okay. And the other, you said there was another noise?
Yeah.
What did that sound like?
The first one, it just woke me up. I hear something, and the second one was when it was more loud and more distinct to make me think that it was that basketball door and that door. Someone was in the house.
Okay. And whose mind were you on at that point? I mean, which child were you alarmed about if
Emma, she was my first concern
how come?
because of recent experiences.
Okay.
Mr. Bell.
And what did you do as a result of you said the first one you were a little sleepy, you didn't react to that one?
I did. It woke me up. I laid there and thought, did I really hear something, or just was I dreaming about it? And the second one is when I sat up out of bed and ran to her room and opened her door to check on her.
I know you were sleeping, so I don't know if you can estimate the time lapse in between the time you heard a noise the first time and the time you heard the second noise, or can you?
It seemed to me like it was within about 3 to 5 seconds maybe.
Okay. And you said you went to Emma's room?
I ran to Emma's room first,
You ran. And across the house?
across the house.
And what did you observe when you looked into her room?
I opened her door and saw her laying there. And I held the door open and stared at her for probably 15 to 20 seconds.
What were the lighting conditions?
real low ambient light.
Did you turn any lights on the way to Emma's room? So your eyes are still dark-eyed, not night eyes. Can you tell us whether or not the TV was on at this point?
The TV was not on.
Okay. And so the light that you're using to observe, what you're observing is just what kind of light? Does she have a nightlight in the room or anything like that?
No.
Okay. And what did you see?
I saw her laying in bed and seemed to be like she was asleep.
Okay. And what'd you do next?
After I stared at her for a few minutes, I shut the door, went to Evan's bedroom, opened his door. He was still in bed. I thought maybe one of them got up to go to the restroom. So I went to go to the bathroom to see if I could hear the toilet running where they flushed it. I didn't not hear any water running. The toilet had been flushed. So I checked the doors. Went back to bed.
Okay. How long were you up?
Only a couple of minutes maybe.
And during that time, did you have any semblance of what time it might be?
I thought at first it was somewhere around 1:30 or I don't know exactly.
Okay. And you've talked to your wife, obviously, since this, right? And have you talked to your wife about the fact that she got up at some point and shut the TV off?
She got up before 1:30,
Okay.
so the TV was on.
Do you recall specifically looking at a clock or anything like that, or?
No, I didn't know.
Okay. Did you get up on time for work that morning?
I did.
What's your normal practice when you wake up?
Wake up, take a shower, get ready for work in the living room.
Why do you get ready for work in the living room?
I still a lot.
Happy wife, happy life. Yes, sir. Okay, and did you ever check on your children again before you left that morning? What time is it that you were aware that something had gone wrong back at your house?
When my son called me at work at 6 o'clock, I had just gone through my morning routine, coffee first, sat at my desk, and I had a sausage biscuit. I just opened it up, the phone rang, my son called me and said, I need to get home now. And he was crying. I asked him why, he said, you need to get home now. So I ran as fast as I could.
Okay. And when you got back home, what did you find?
And a bunch of police officers in my house on the way home. I think Evan called me on the way home. And he said that Emma was dead.
How'd you react to that?
I was in shock. I had my emergency flashers on, driving a lot faster than I should have been, but at the same time trying to be careful coming home. And I remember driving through intersections and trying to get people to stop for me. And I was blowing my horn, trying to get them to stop so I could get through. They were making obscene gestures at me. And I know that they didn't understand the reason, but
But you made it home?
Did look at both.
And when you got there, the police were there,
Police were there.
and they talked to you?
They did.
And they asked you to name somebody, if you could, who would harm your daughter, and you gave them a name, didn't you?
Rob Gaul.
Pass it.
Cross examination.
Mr. Walker, we've not met, have we? I want to thank you for letting me come to your house the other day. I appreciate you letting me do that. And tell you how sorry I am for your loss. I want to talk a little bit about the conversations you did have with law enforcement after the events of the 21st of November. You told them that Emma and Riley had a rough 2-year relationship. You recall saying that?
Along with all that, I don't really recall a whole lot about the conversations that I had.
Okay. So, would you agree that they did have a rough 2-year relationship, Emma and Riley?
Yes.
And as part of that, you never heard, you told law enforcement you never heard of Emma ever saying that Riley would cause any type of physical harm toward her.
I've never heard the police say that.
No, I'm sorry. You told law enforcement when they asked you about, I think maybe Riley or something to that effect, you said something to the effect that you never heard Emma ever say anything about Riley causing physical harm towards her. Let me ask it this way. Let me do it this way. Had you ever heard Emma ever tell you that Riley had ever threatened physical harm toward her?
I don't know.
Okay. And you're not aware of any physical harm other than the events alleged in this case?
Sure.
Your wife Jill talked a little bit about the discipline that you and her would implement with Emma when she would break rules. And she said that they would include taking her phone and grounding her, something to that effect. Is that accurate? Okay. And she would also, you also would, as part of her discipline, would make her try to make her stay away from my client. Is that a yes?
That's correct.
Okay. And she was a pretty strong-willed person. She would it be fair to say that if she wanted to do something, she pretty much did it?
I think so.
Pretty strong-willed. Okay. She pretty strong-willed young lady. Yes. And I want to, and the reason I asked that, I think when you were talking to law enforcement, you said something to the effect that whenever we would ground her, whenever we seemed to take her phone away, do something like that, she would still find a way to communicate. Is that it? And she would find ways to communicate with Riley.
She had ways to communicate.
Even when you all did not want her to.
Some ways.
Yeah. And so this iPod that we talked about a minute ago, that was one of the ways. Is that a fair statement? Thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about the incident about installing a camera. As I understand it, you and your wife installed a camera in your home.
We did.
And when to your recollection was that camera installed?
I don't remember the exact date.
Okay.
But it was around the time frame that issues were going on with Robert.
I beg your pardon, I'm sorry.
I said it was around the time that issues were going on with Robert.
Okay. Well, the relationship has been described sort of as on and off. Do you agree that Emma and Riley's relationship was on and off? Okay. And so I know that camera wasn't installed when they first started dating back in, 2014, right?
That's probably accurate.
Okay. So take me into a time place where you all felt the need to install that camera.
I'm going to say it was probably in 2015, around October maybe.
Okay. So about a year, how long would that be? About a year into their relationship, you think? Does that sound about right? Okay. And that was a concern that you and Jill Walker, your wife, had regarding what, him coming over to the house, maybe sneaking in? Okay. And you're aware that Emma participated in him sneaking in as well, correct?
I am now.
Okay. But it was part of the camera installation to maybe deter that or prevent it or catch it? Which one of the three or all three? I don't know.
I wanted to see if he was actually coming in to my residence without my permission.
Okay. Did you find any evidence of that through that camera installation?
I didn't know.
Okay. Did Emma know that camera had been installed? Okay. Did anybody but you and Jill know that? And then it was at some point in time there was a point in time where you were out working on your truck and you had gotten a call from Jill to go check on Emma and Riley. And Riley was over there with permission that day.
He was.
Okay. And do you remember about what time period that was?
I do not recall the exact date.
Okay. Was that the day that Riley was told to stay away from your house?
I don't think so. I think he was there under my terms under supervised condition.
Right. But there was something that happened that caused, Jill saw something on the video,
Yes.
and she told you to go in and check on them. Okay. Was it after that day that you're saying that Riley was not permitted at your house?
It was after that day,
Okay. Was it that day?
including that day.
Okay.
Time the incident occurred. Passed.
Right. And was Emma grounded at that point?
I don't recall the exact punishment that we gave her. I do remember sitting in both down, having a discussion.
And you would agree with me that when you discussed that with Riley, that he seemed remorseful?
Somewhat.
Okay. Do you agree with me that's what you told law enforcement?
At that occurrence,
Yes, sir.
I may have, I just don't recall.
Emma was embarrassed
Embarrassed.
as a result of that incident. And it was after that you and Jill had to go over to this Scenic View Drive address when you got the call from the sheriff's office. I'm sorry. So the events that we talked about Jill telling you to go into the house and check on Emma and Riley.
Yes.
They occurred, and then after that is when you and Jill have to go over to the Senate View address that, if I can just see, Senate View Drive address, when you get called by the sheriff's office.
I believe it was after Riley's camp.
Right. And you didn't see Riley that night at the Senate View Drive.
Where I was at, I did not, but I wasn't there.
Right. Did you ever find out how Emma and Riley got together that night at that Senate View Drive address?
I don't know how they got together, but I'm sure they contacted each other in some way. Trying each other or what.
Okay. Do you do a lot of texting, Mr. Walker? Do you? Did you text some with Emma? Do you recall on November the 5th of 2016 that Emma sent you a text asking to go watch Riley play for his last football game? Okay. And do you recall telling her, no, not going to happen because of what happened last time I trusted you to go out? Okay. You told her you'd better walk the line, girl? She told you it was his last game. And you said, and she said, I'm literally watching football. We couldn't even sneak. Was she, I'm sorry?
That's what she said.
She a little sneaky?
In a couple of instances.
Okay. I mean, there were some things you didn't know was going on. You found out later.
I'm sure they were.
Right. And there's some things you still may not know ever happened, right?
That's probably true.
Okay. When you recall getting a text from her where she says, I feel like complete crap and unfair to everyone, and then she goes on to say, now especially Riley, since he will only play football from a couple of more years and I'm missing the games that I could make. You remember that? I'm sorry?
I do.
Okay. Do you know what she would have meant by I feel like complete crap and unfair to everyone?
And they had to think that she wasn't getting to do everything that she wanted to do.
As I understand, your bedroom, yours and Miss Walker's bedroom is on the side opposite from Evan and Emma's. Okay. And as I understood your testimony a moment ago, when you went to Emma's room, her bedroom door was shut. Okay. And Evan's bedroom door was also shut. Okay. Your backyard adjoins the backyards of other people. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. There's not street lights or anything in that back between your house and the houses behind you.
There are.
Right. And I think you, when you said you heard these sounds, that you did go to your back door and look out your back window or backyard area. Is that right?
I went to the back door.
Okay.
I didn't go to the back yard.
But you looked out the back door, or you just checked on the door?
I checked on the door to make sure it was locked.
There's something wrong with the lock on the door. It was a little.
The door was installed, I guess it had rotted out in the bottom left-hand corner.
Okay.
Caused it to shift maybe one way. So I lift up on the door to make sure it latched.
Right. And you shut Emma's door and you shut Evan's door. Okay. If I may just have just a moment, Judge. Mr. Walker, thank you. No further questions.
Just briefly, Mr. Walker, the camera that you talked about that you installed in your home, he asked you several questions about that. Where was it installed?
In the living room.
Okay. And so as you come in your front door of your residence, it was installed in an outlet? Where was the outlet as you walk in your front? Okay. And you recognize which house is yours? Okay. If I could have you circle your house and, well, you're JW2, aren't you? That's poor planning on my part, but let's do a different color. Go ahead and circle your house with a red. And if you would just sign in John Warren in red so we know that your house on exhibit number 5 has been circled by you. Okay? And describe, if you would, just to orient the jury, if you're standing in the Walker's driveway and you're looking out, where is your house in reference to standing out, looking out the street?
Northwest, directionally or diagonally right across from there.
Okay, so you're not in the house directly across the street, but to the left of that house, one house over?
Correct.
Okay. How long have you lived there?
Since 93, 94.
Okay, and who do you live there with?
My wife Karen.
Do you have children?
We do, but they no longer live at home.
Okay. You're grown?
Yes.
Okay. Back in October of 2000, November of 2016, do you recall the weekend before Thanksgiving?
Sure.
You recall, of course, the day that Emma died, right?
Correct.
Okay. Describe, if you would, the evening before, that Sunday night before Emma died. You recall she died on a Monday? Or rather,
Yes.
You were made aware on a Monday?
Yes.
And how were you made aware that something was wrong with Emma?
Her aunt, Jenny.
Okay. You work here at the City County, right?
Correct.
In the trustee's office?
Sure.
What time do you normally come to work?
7:30.
Okay. And that morning, did you go to work around that time?
Yes.
And is that when you were alerted to something wrong with the Walker house?
Officially, or when
Let me take you back to the night before. You and your wife had did you have a routine at that time of things you were doing?
yes.
Okay, tell the members of the jury the circumstances of what you were doing on Sunday night.
What we normally do, we have my mother-in-law, we take care of her. She has dementia, and she actually lives within a night yard, where you can see behind us in some condos in Evans Gate.
If I could have you just stand down and look at exhibit number 1, Mr. Warren, and tell us you recognize exhibit number 1.
Yes.
To point to what you're talking about, you said your mother-in-law lives somewhere different from
She
Carbondale?
lives in the second, this end condo right here, which is from our bedroom window side of our house, the west side of our house, we can see her condo from there. So she would be right here, and we would be here.
Okay. And you can just go ahead and just have a seat. And that condo that your mother-in-law lived in, you can tell us what the circumstances that would have you be there on Sunday night.
I would generally, and this is an everyday thing, would take an evening hour when I would get off from work, I would go stay with her. And then at 11 o'clock, usually, Karen would come in and relieve me to take over for her, stay from 11 until she got to sleep good or resting good, and then she would come home. So that was consistently our routine.
Okay, so
during that time.
you would go to bed before your wife, obviously, then
Try
because of the
to,
circumstances.
yes.
Okay, and where's your bedroom in relation to the house?
Our bedroom is on the west side of our house,
Okay, and what is it over?
over the garage. We have a three-car garage.
When you go to take care of your mother-in-law, do you drive or you walk?
Drive,
Okay, and when your wife goes, does she drive or walk?
drive.
And did you do that routine that particular night on Sunday?
Yes.
And you recall what time you got home?
A little between around midnight, because I usually stay there until she gets comfortable, just catching up or talking. And I would come home and try to get to bed.
Okay. And did your wife come and relieve you, so to speak, as you mentioned before, around midnight?
Yes.
Okay. And so when you came home, did you go to bed immediately?
Eventually, no, not immediately, but eventually, pretty quick.
Do you recall what time you went to sleep?
Probably somewhere between 12 and 1.
Okay. And did you sleep through the night?
No.
Describe the circumstances under which you awoke during the night.
As usual, usually the case, the garage door would wake me up, or it was to know or let me know that she was home. I would hear the garage door go up and down.
Okay.
And from then,
Did you hear it that night?
yes.
Okay. And then what happened?
At that point, her routine, or at least I would, at some point, check to see if she'd come upstairs yet. If I got was awake, which I was, and I went into the room to see if she'd come up from the garage yet. Usually she had a habit of smoking in the garage and then coming to bed.
She still do that? Okay. And that particular night, after you heard the garage door open, do you recall what time it was when we heard the garage door open?
Yes, it was pretty close to 2:30.
Okay. And so there's some delay if she is in the garage smoking. There's some delay between the garage door opening and her coming up. Is that fair to say?
Sometimes, usually there is, and sometimes it could be later in the night when she comes home. It could be just a little earlier, but generally speaking, that was the time period that she came home from putting her mother to bed.
Okay. So describe then specifically, after you know your wife is home, describe for the jury what you hear or see.
That night, around 2:30, I got up and checked the other room to see if she'd come upstairs. As I went back to the bedroom, I went into the bathroom to use the bathroom. After using the bathroom, I went back to lay down because I knew she hadn't come upstairs yet, but I also knew she was in the house from the garage door going up and down. And as I laid down, that's when I heard 2 gunshots.
Okay. And could you tell when you say gun, you heard 2 gunshots?
Yes.
What kind of succession were the gunshots?
Well, I wasn't, counting or anything, but after the first one, I heard the second one, but there was a pause in between the shots.
Okay.
But there were 2, gunshots.
Okay. And are you familiar with gunshots living in Sturkey?
Well, there's 2 firing ranges, not too far away, so we have heard shots, at other times during the day. So,
But was there something different about this one, the way you heard it?
Well, they were just loud and distinctive as far as, being able to hear them, so loud.
Okay.
That was, I guess, more so they sounded closer,
Okay.
to our house.
And what did you do in response to that, hearing that?
I got up, we had a dog, and went downstairs at that point to check on her to see if she was in the garage, which she should have been. And as I went downstairs, I met her in our kitchen area.
Okay. And was there any delay between the second shot and you going downstairs? Any significant amount of
Just a
time?
few seconds.
Okay.
And just to gather back up and go downstairs.
Okay, so you go downstairs and what do you do?
I go around our living room area, into the kitchen area, that leads out to the laundry room and the garage.
Okay. And what do you do next?
Well, I met her in the kitchen area near the alley.
What'd you say to her?
Did you hear that?
And how'd she respond?
She said yes.
And did you tell her what you thought it was?
I said, well, she told me she thought she heard me go to the bathroom earlier. And so she thought the hot water heater was kicking on or making, blowing up or making noise. And I said, no, those were gunshots.
Okay.
And I said, where was they? Come from? And so.
Did you discuss at that point the orientation in the house?
Well, sort of, we're asking where they would come from as loud as they were, and I guess, being the water heater's on the other side of the garage, that way, she pointed and said, I thought they came from over there, but I went to the back to let the dog out, and to look out back, and she went to the front to look out front.
Okay.
That's what we did then.
And what, if anything, did you see when you looked out back?
Dogs barking, nothing, didn't see anything happening, quiet.
And
We kind of switched, that I went to the front, I looked out the front, didn't see anything.
okay, any unusual cars or people or anything like that you were able to see?
No.
Okay. And tell the members of the jury, what time was it that when you arrived, you said that it only took you a few seconds to get downstairs to talk to your wife. Did you become aware of what time it was when you got downstairs?
I did when I let the dog out and went out the back the first time.
Okay.
We have a clock above the French doors that lead to the outside, and the clock was between 2:50 to 2:55, so it was right between, it's Roman numeral clock. So
Okay.
it's not-
So just before 3 a.m. in the morning, 2:50 to 2:55. And you noted that in your mind?
Yes.
Okay. And eventually, obviously, you told eventually you spoke to an officer about what you do? And the next morning is when you were alerted that there was something wrong.
When I saw emergency vehicles in front of our house as well as the law center.
Okay. And as far as when you looked at the clock and you let the dog out and you went in front and the back, how much longer did you stay up on alert, so to speak?
Stayed downstairs until almost 3:30.
Okay.
So between 25 after 3:30 before I went back upstairs.
Doing what?
Just pacing, just wondering what we had heard, and it bothered me that the direction that my wife was telling me where she thought the shots came from. I couldn't understand what was going on as far as.
And so that direction, and looking at the map in exhibit number 1, if you point out for the jury what direction you thought the shots were coming from. Go ahead.
I mean, as I said, our house is over across the street diagonally, and when she was sitting in the garage, our water heater and our direction would have been towards the east, which kind of is the way the walkers would sit from our house, would be from the east or south.
So when you say concerned, it's because the sound was coming from inside the subdivision.
Well, and then yes, because that's the direction she thought they came from, and she was sitting downstairs in the garage.
And what time was it that you finally gave up and went to bed?
It was 3:30 when I went back upstairs, between 3:25 and 3:30, and so somewhere between there, how long it took them to fall asleep that night.
And I did ask you, your residence is in Knox County, the Walker's residence, that's in Knox County, Tennessee, correct? That's
Mr. Warren, we've not met, have we?
No, sir.
My name's Wesley Stone. I represent Mr. Gaul. A couple of questions. I understand you're in the military or ex-military. Is that correct? No, you're not. Okay, I thought I read that somewhere. So, what's your familiarity with guns?
I don't have a lot of knowledge of them.
Okay. Do you own or have one at home?
Not presently, no.
Okay. And what do you do for a living? I'm sorry.
I work for the Knox County Trustees.
Okay. Here in this building here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how far away from where you were laying in your bed were you? How far away would you say that is from the Emma Walker house?
In Walker. Probably no more between 100 to 150 feet. I mean, depending on which end or which side you're talking about.
Let's just say the closest end.
Probably our corner of our house to theirs, just over 100 feet, 150 feet at the most.
Okay. And
Not 150 feet.
okay, 150 feet. So about half the length of a football. Am I reading it right? About half the length of a football field. Is that a fair statement?
Sure.
Okay. So the structure of your house, what is it made of?
It's a wooden siding, vinyl siding.
Okay. Vinyl siding with wood behind.
Everything above the garage is vinyl and vinyl on the side.
Okay. No brick.
Just in front and around the garage area.
Okay.
Front door.
All right.
And that's just the front only, just both sides to the foot.
Right. Does your garage face the Walker residence?
It does.
Okay. And you didn't call 911 and report shots being fired?
No.
You're sure it was shots being fired?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And why did you not call 911?
Well, I mean, I didn't know where they came from.
Okay.
So in that area, it's not, like I've never heard gunshots before.
Okay.
But not knowing where they came from, not knowing if it was somebody on the other side of Dane or because where the bedroom is, I couldn't tell where they came from.
Okay. Can you give me that physical address of your home again, sir?
6765 Cardinal Drive.
His wife was sworn. That's all the question I have.
You can step down to the room, you can figure out and come back. Just need that more questions.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I didn't want to slow it down.
Karen Ward.
Says 96.
Okay, and as you look out your house, from your house, do you know where the residence of Emma Walker is?
It's directly, if you're standing on my front porch looking out, it's to the left.
Okay, not straight across, not the house straight across, but diagonal, the next house, okay? And on the evening, and of course you remember the day that Emma died, right? And the night before Emma died, you and your husband had a routine with your mother, right? And your mother lived in some condos behind this subdivision?
Yes.
And you two would swap taking care of her because she was sick and had issues with Alzheimer's? Okay. And that shift that night, John took the first shift and you took the second shift?
Yes.
What time is it that you took over for John?
I think it was like 10:30 that night.
Okay.
I left and went over to stay with her to make sure, got her to bed and got her settled.
Do you recall what time you stayed till that night?
I think I got home that morning at 2:30.
Okay. Is that normal for you to get home that late?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, because I wanted to make sure she was good to sleep and staying for the night.
Okay, so she didn't get up and after you left? Okay. And when you get home, did you have at the time a particular routine that you would engage in?
Yes, at the time I was a smoker.
Okay, you quit?
I had
Congratulations.
quit.
All right.
But at the time I was a smoker, and so when I got home at 2:30, I smoked a cigarette in the garage.
Okay, and that was your practice? Was there a particular area out there that you had set up for that?
Not really, just out in the garage.
Okay.
Out in the garage.
Did you have a chair or something you'd sit in? Or?
Yes.
And did something unusual happen to you that night while you're out in the garage, or something unusual that alerted you or alarmed you?
Well, when I first got there, I guess when the garage door goes up, it kind of alerted John because I heard he got up and went to the bathroom. I heard the water kick on.
Okay.
Okay, so as the water is running, I heard a loud pop. And I thought, oh goodness, our hot water heater, because it's there in the garage, is getting ready to explode. So I stood there momentarily and listened again. And just within a minute or so, I heard another pop. But instead of coming from the hot water heater area, which was directly in front of me, it came more toward the front corner of the garage, toward the front of the house.
Okay.
And that was all probably within a minute.
All right. So that first sound that you heard, you said was the first pop that you heard. You thought it was the actual hot water heater?
I did.
Okay. And what did you move at all because of that?
I did stand up and
Did you-
listen, because I thought, okay, it's hot water heater. I want to catch it before it really, explodes or something. It's a mess. So I stood there a minute to listen.
Did you approach or did you stay in your
I
position?
just stood. I
Okay.
just stood up out of the chair and listened to make sure it's coming from where I thought it was.
Okay.
And then that's when I heard the second pop, and it came more toward the front corner of the garage.
Okay.
By the garage door.
The corner that would direct you towards the Walker house or
Yes.
away toward the Walker house? Okay. And describe for the jury, if you would, your garage doors. What are they constructed of?
They're aluminum.
Okay.
They're not insulated.
Okay. There are insulated and uninsulated garage doors, and yours are not insulated. They don't have a panel. Okay. And so the sound that you heard, the second sound, you're estimating about a minute. Would you say?
Yeah, I would say a minute and a half.
Okay. Between. Okay. And how did you respond to the second one when you realized it was a pop from outside?
I actually heard John still stirring around where he had gone to the bathroom, my husband, and I went inside. I actually put my cigarette out and went inside, and we met up he came downstairs and we met up in the kitchen.
Okay. And what did you guys talk?
Yes. He said, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "Yeah, I thought the hot water heater, something was going on with the hot water heater." But then I heard the second one that was more toward the front, so I don't know what it was. And he said, well, he thought it sounded like gunshots, but he didn't know. So we have a small dog, and he took the dog out back to the bathroom. I went to the front of the house and looked out both windows. I had 2 windows in the downstairs front of the house. Looked at both windows, didn't see anything. But we probably stood there in the living room for a very short period of time, just long enough to say, "Hey, did you hear that? What did you think it was?" And then we started to, he took the dog out, and I checked the windows, didn't see anything.
Did you ever hear any other noises?
No. We kind of stayed, when you hear something like that, you don't really know what it is, you kind of stay on alert for a little while.
Okay.
So we probably stayed up for another, 30 minutes or so.
No screeching tires or yelling people or disturbance or anything like that? Okay. And describe, just if you would, the difference between the first pop and the second pop sound-wise in terms of was one more or less loud than the other?
Not really. I didn't notice the difference in the sound, only in the direction.
Okay.
And I thought one came more straight in front of me, which was where the hot water heater was, and the other one came more toward the front.
Okay. But both were significantly
Yeah.
loud?
And they were pops. I didn't know what they were. I just knew they were pops.
Pass it.
Cross-examination.
Ms. Warren, I don't think we've met, have we?
No, sir.
Do you remember when you were talking to law enforcement on the 21st of November, you remember telling them that you thought that the pops were about 30 seconds apart?
No, I don't.
Okay. You don't recall saying that?
No.
Okay. Today you're saying they're a minute and 30 seconds apart.
A minute to a minute and a half.
Okay. Okay.
And that's a guess.
Okay.
Long enough for me to stand there and listen, and then heard another one.
Okay. If you heard what you maybe have told law enforcement back on November 21st, do you think your memory would be a little better refreshed about what you actually told them?
Sure.
Okay. Could you hear that?
No, I'm sorry.
Let me see if I can turn it up. What is the last 4 digits of your number, ma'am?
With my phone number?
Yes, ma'am.
7801.
Seven 7801? Okay. Do you have a neighbor that is in the military? Or ex-military?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Is that you there? Can you see enough of that to see if that's you?
It doesn't look like me.
Okay.
My hair wasn't this short.
Okay. All right, so that's not you. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. So tell me then about your house and its location to the Walker residence.
If you're standing on my front porch, which is out into the street, the Walker's is to the left, directly across.
Okay. And how did you know the Walkers before this much?
As neighbors, yeah, enough to pay any good amount.
Did you know Emma?
I knew Emma just because she was a neighbor. I didn't know a lot about her personal life.
Okay. And what about familiarity with handguns? Do you know anything about handguns or firearms?
No.
Do you recognize this lady at all that we looked at? Okay. All right, thank you, ma'am.
Anything else, Mr.? No. You can step down, thank you. You need to ask Mr. Warren any other questions?
Judge, I think, let me see if this has got connected back up here.
Ms. Warren's free to leave, Judge.
Yes, Judge.
She's free to go.
Sorry. Where is it, sir? I'm sorry.
Right here.
Okay, so your bedroom is side opposite of the house, side opposite of where the Walker residence is.
Yes.
Okay. And just for orientation, the Walker residence is here.
Correct.
All right, that's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
Any questions?
No, Your Honor.
You can step down and you're free to go.
Crystal. And was there a discrepancy in Jill Carney's video based on real time? And if so, what was that?
Yes, Jill Carney's was 35 minutes faster than actual time.
Okay, so if you looked at your watch and it was noon, what did the DVR read?
If my watch says noon, 12:35.
Okay, so the timestamp on Jill Carney's video, you would just have to subtract 35 minutes to get the real time that things actually happened.
Correct.
Okay. If we could, you would have to subtract
From the DVR time.
from the DVR
If
time.
the DVR time said 12:35, I would subtract
To get to
35 to get to the real time.
Right. So the first time that we would see a 10:36 time was really what time?
10:01.
Okay. And if we could just put up number 2, Judge.
I'm unplugged.
Everybody unplugged.
I'm unplugged.
Do you recognize the interface that I'm showing you here that's being published to the jury here?
Yes,
And what is that?
that's the street in front of Carney's house.
Okay. And I'm going to ask you if you could step down and you recognize the exhibit number 1. Go ahead and take some time to orient yourself on exhibit number 1 there before we talk about this. Do you see Colson Drive on there?
Yes.
And the intersection of Colson and Cardindale?
Yes.
And you said that this video is, where is this video oriented?
About right here.
Okay. And is it are we looking up? Okay, no, I just missed it. Okay. And so in this, did you notice how the cameras were oriented on the Colston house?
Yes.
Okay. And is this in fact the cameras that you recovered from that particular date?
Footage of the cameras.
Okay. And I know it's difficult to see up in the upper left-hand corner, but there's some stamping up in the upper left-hand corner.
I can see it. Yes.
And when you reviewed the video and the footage from this camera, did you note the times based on the timestamp?
Yes.
Okay. And again, we would subtract.
35 minutes.
Okay. And upon your review, was there something unusual that you found captured on the Colson Drive video?
Yes.
And what was it?
An individual walking down the street,
What was he wearing?
dark clothing.
Okay. And is this the video that we're referencing? You
Yes.
see the person moving?
Yes.
And what what time does that say? Timestamp.
10:36.
Okay. And so what real time did that happen on this video?
10:01.
Okay. 10:01 a.m. And where is this person walking? Orient us in terms of direction. Where is he walking from and to?
That footage shows him right here on Colston walking towards Cardindale.
Okay. Are you familiar with where the pool is?
Yes.
And where is the pool?
The pool is right here.
Okay. So is that person walking away or from? To or from the pool?
From the vicinity of the pool.
Okay.
If he's right here where the residence, he's walking this way, which would be from.
Okay. And walking towards or away from the Walker residence?
Walking towards Cardindale.
Okay. And did you also look at the video for other vehicles?
Yeah, yes,
And did you note different vehicles and create screenshots of those vehicles?
yes.
Okay. And with regard to activity that you see down there at the end of the street, did you see anything else after the figure in black went by?
Says, I'm going to object. She said dark clothing. She didn't say black. I'm going to object to that characterization.
I think that
Her word, you can, well, her word, you can quote her, was dark.
what color was the clothing?
Black.
Did you see any activity after the person in black walked past?
Yes.
What activity did you see on the video?
There was the same, what appeared to be the same individual running
In what direction?
the opposite.
Okay. And do you recall what time that was?
3 minutes later, approximately.
Okay. And this video that we're showing you right now, that is the captured video that you took from Miss Carney?
Correct.
You could move that. I'm going to hand you that DVD and have you mark it with a Sharpie. That's already marked 6758 Colston.
Yes.
If you could initial it, this video that you collected. You also collected video from the 21st on Colston Drive, the same address?
Yes.
Okay. And did you observe cars going by at any particular time?
Yes.
Okay. So at this time, exhibit number 15 has been marked, our identification is 15, and signature of Crystal Gibson. We move that in as the Colston Drive video.
Any objection?
There you go.
Let it be received in evidence.
And him now a collective exhibit. Two collective exhibits. Exhibit 16, what I'm handing you, marked for identification. Do you recognize those screenshots?
Yes.
And did you capture those screenshots in your investigation? If you could look through and leaf through tell us what they are.
They're just screen captures of the individual, the same footage, just screen captures.
Okay. And again, if you would, on the screen captures, if you would, at least on the first page, would you tell right in there how many minutes you have to subtract from that clock time on the timestamps to get to real time? Okay. And just initial it, Chris. And again, exhibit number 17. If you could tell us that time is from November 21. That's a still shot that you recorded and captured.
Correct.
So what time would that be?
That's 0418.
And so what would you have to do to get to the real time that occurred?
Subtract 35 minutes.
Okay, and what are you observing in that?
A vehicle driving down the street.
What kind of vehicle?
I can't really tell from the still shots.
Is it a sedan, a pickup,
A
or a
sedan.
compact? Okay.
Dark colored sedan.
Okay. Do you know what kind of vehicle you were looking for? What Riley Ball drove?
A Honda.
And what color was this Honda?
I believe it was black.
And if you would just initial that as well, subtract 35 minutes for real time. And your justification. And again, just still shots of dark sedans going by the house. We've moved in 15, 16, and 17 as Colston Drive video exhibits.
Any objection?
There you go.
Let them be received in evidence.
That's it.
Cross-examination.
So initially, Ms. Gibson, you said that the color was dark, correct? Of the person, the clothing of the person that was walking?
Correct.
Okay, and then after Mr. Allen asked you if it was black, you changed that to black, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What else have you changed, ma'am?
Nothing.
Okay. Why did you change that testimony here today?
Objection, dark and black are
Well, it's
changing
after
your
he led the
testimony.
witness,
Both
Judge.
synonymous with one another.
It's after he led the witness.
Not that much difference, I suspend the objection.
Do you know that Mr. Gaul's car was not black?
No.
Okay. So you said you believed it was a black Honda.
From my recollection.
Okay. But you've never seen the car?
In person, no.
Okay. So your testimony is that there's a 35-minute difference on these particular videos, correct?
I'm sorry, what?
That your testimony is that these videos are their 35 minutes difference as to real time, correct?
The one I recorded in my notes.
Right. Okay. Do you have those notes with you?
No.
Okay. You knew that was why you were being brought here today, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You also worked other parts of this particular case, didn't you?
Yes.
You interviewed a variety of witnesses, had some phone conversations with some individuals.
I'm sure I did.
Okay. You said this individual you believe to be I think you said it was a guy or a man you saw walking, correct? A guy or a man? Can you tell from the video whether it's a man or a woman?
I said an individual,
Okay. So you don't know if it's a man or a woman?
not with 100% certainty.
Okay. Did you ever find anybody in that neighborhood matching that description, or anybody else that saw somebody matching that description?
Not that I recall.
Saw that.
Anything redirect? You can sit down, thank you.
Jill Carney, just briefly, Judge, Ms. Carney's video. What is that?
That is a shot from corner camera. If you're facing our house, it's on the right corner.
Okay, and is that going up Colston towards Cardindale or the other way?
It is, the camera's angled at Carbondale.
Okay, and that camera, you have multiple cameras?
We do.
And to just describe briefly for the jury how they operate.
Set up with a DVR. It's motion sensor. So heavy trucks, certain action will cause it to start recording. And then once the motion is gone, it will cut off.
Okay. How about people? What do people set off the motion detector if they're out in the street?
Depending on the location and how I don't have a scientific answer, but sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, but you've been able to review your own video, right?
Yes.
And it seems to be that sometimes things jump around. Do you have an explanation why that happens?
The only thing of course, I'm no scientist, but I think it depends on motion of whatever it's capturing. And then it can just stop and then you have a lag or a missed seconds, moments, and it might pick up again.
Okay. And so after November 21 of 2016, you were approached by Crystal Gibson of the Knox County Sheriff's Office?
Yes.
And asked to provide the video?
Yes, she rang the doorbell and I was at work. And I said, give me 10 minutes, I'll be home.
Okay.
She came in and viewed everything.
And you gave her access to get copies of those videos?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
If we could take it to where Ms. Gibson said she saw somebody running back across the street. You know where that is? What time it is? Ms. Carney, my name's Wesley Stone. I don't think we've met, have we? Okay. I think you testified a moment ago that you had reviewed these videos. Is that correct? Okay. Did you review them with Ms. Gibson, or did you review them before she came to your house?
No, I wasn't even aware of anything going on.
Yes, ma'am.
Until I got to work that morning. And so I just went to the house and opened up where the cameras were and told her I had it.
Okay. All right. Do you know what number it is?
is when.
Okay. She testified she saw somebody running back across later.
Okay, that's 10:39:37. Moving forward to that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get ready. You ready?
Yeah. Be ready to pause it. Just pause it right there.